During the 1990s, the Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida was one of the ultimate destinations for kids of all ages, as it encompassed everything about the massively popular television network, and to many is the epitome of 90s nostalgia.
Oh my gosh, it's Jake Lloyd from Star Wars The Phantom Menace! The Force is with me.
But now, the Nickelodeon Studios is no longer, and the story of the network's origins leading up to the studio's downfall is often associated with the beginning and end of an era. During a time when television broadcasting was still in its infancy, on December 1st, 1977, an experimental two-way interactive cable television system named QUBE officially launched in Columbus, Ohio.
Do you ever get the urge to answer back to your television set? Some viewers in Columbus, Ohio can, and they get results.
Available through Warner Cable Network, the cable box featured a number of revolutionary concepts, and also included access to 10 commercial-free community channels, one of which featured children's programming called C3, which featured a flagship series named Pinwheel. And while often compared to Sesame Street, the show became so popular that the network was retitled with the same name.
3, 2, 1, 0. Dark +1.
And with the success of QUBE and networks like Pinwheel, in 1976, Warner made a deal to purchase transponder space from the satellite RCA Satcom-1, which had gone into orbit the previous year. And on April 1st, the rebranded Pinwheel network debuted as Nickelodeon.
Boy, oh boy, are we gonna have some big fun today, huh, kids?
But despite its new name, the network didn't stray far from its Pinwheel-style children's programming. But in 1981, things began to change, as the network began airing a Canadian sketch television program aimed at teens and preteens called You Can't Do That on Television, and also debuted a new network logo. And while it was considered their first hit series, and was also first to feature Nickelodeon's iconic green slime, the network struggled financially and in viewership in its early years. But in the mid-1980s, with the help of the creative team behind MTV's iconic imagery, Nickelodeon decided to completely reinvent itself. Nickelodeon! Promoted as the first kids network, Nickelodeon began a campaign to shed its image as just a children's education network by reinventing its image to appear edgier and appeal to a wider demographic. And by the late 1980s, with the help of original shows like Double Dare, the first game show geared towards children, and the acquisition and airing of popular animated TV shows, Nickelodeon soon became one of the top-rated children's television networks. But this was only the beginning.
Nickelodeon heard your cries for freedom and answered, claiming a piece of the planet Earth in the name of kids everywhere. Nick Studios, Florida.
In 1988, Nickelodeon partnered with Universal Studios Florida to create a one-of-a-kind working production facility, which would reside within Universal Soundstages 17, 18, and 19. And while the network's first show to be filmed technically occurred in the spring of 1989 on Universal Soundstage 21, on June 7, 1990, the Nickelodeon Studios, as well as Universal Studios Florida, officially opened to the public.
We are live! First time in 11 years we're doing a live broadcast on Nickelodeon, and it means we are coming to you from our new home right here in Orlando, Florida.
And much like Warner Brothers, who invited guests to watch live tapings of their shows, Nickelodeon's offered visitors a chance to be part of the audience for game shows and sitcoms. But what many considered the heart of Nickelodeon Studios Florida was its one-of-a-kind tour, which not only allowed guests to get an inside look into television productions, but participate in a number of Nickelodeon-inspired activities, which included taking part in potential new game show elements in its game lab.
Okay, you ready? Yeah! Open wide!
Shortly after the studio's opening, Nickelodeon decided to venture into creating a line of original animations, which resulted in Doug, Rugrats, and The Ren and Stimpy Show, all of which turned out to be a success, which saw Nickelodeon's popularity, along with their Orlando studio location, soar even higher.
From Nickelodeon Studios, the first world headquarters for kids, it's G-Day,
And in 1992, a highly publicized time capsule was buried at the bustling new studio, which had actually benefited from Universal Florida's rocky first year, drawing in guests and families who had run out of things to do at Universal's new theme park. The year also saw the debut of Snick, which, similar to Nick at Night, featured reruns and programs geared towards an older audience. And by the mid-1990s, at the height of the studio's popularity, Nickelodeon's reach had extended beyond its growing list of original animations and live-action shows, and had spread across all forms of entertainment, including merchandise, video games, and the beginning of their theatrically released films, with many of their iconic live-action programs having been filmed on location at their Florida studio.
We're #1.
And by 1997, Nickelodeon had become not just the #1 children's cable television network, but for the first time in history, beat out all other broadcast channels for first place. But ironically, it was around the same time that marked the beginning of Nickelodeon Studio Florida's downward descent, starting with the acquisition of the historic Earl Carroll Theater in Los Angeles, in which 2 of their popular live-action shows were migrated from Orlando, setting the stage for future programs to be filmed there as well, as Nickelodeon had decided to focus less on game shows and sitcoms with a live studio audience, and desired for production to be closer to their new upcoming animation studio in Burbank, California.
Cut! You have not seen anything yet.
Another factor was that Universal Studios Florida was offering more attractions and experiences than ever before, and included something for virtually every age demographic, resulting in its neighboring studio to see a decline in Universal's visitors. And by 1999, with the exception of Figure It Out's last season, and occasional specials and spin-offs, practically no new productions were being actively filmed at Nickelodeon Studios. However, in the year 2000, an attempt was made to try and revive the dying studio, which included a new slate of television productions. But unfortunately, all but one were cancelled within the first season. And in 2001, due to budget constraints and a continued decrease in overall attendance, the once in-depth 40-plus minute behind-the-scenes studio tour was significantly cut down to a brief 10-minute walkthrough that excluded or drastically reduced many of the tour's previous highlights. And in 2004, while the studio received its first new paint job since debuting in 1990, and despite the filming of a new show that summer, any hope for a true revival would be in vain, because Splat's last taping on August 17, 2004, also marked the final program to be filmed at Nickelodeon Studios. And while the trimmed-down tour limped on for nearly a year, the last tour was given on April 20, 2005, marking the last day of operation at Universal Studios Florida, which shut its doors for good and was permanently closed. Over the following months, the iconic signage, Slime Geyser, and practically any trace of Nickelodeon was erased, which included the unearthing of the 1992 buried time capsule, which was reburied outside the lobby at the Nickelodeon Suites Resort in 2006. But with its closure less than a decade later, the capsule was relocated to the network's new animation studio in Burbank, California, where it is set to be opened April 30th of 2042.
What year is it?
But it wasn't long after the closure of Nickelodeon Studios Florida that Universal announced that Nickelodeon's former Soundstage 18 would be transformed into the Sharp Aquos Theater for the Blue Man Group. And on June 7, 2007, 17 years to the day that Nickelodeon Studios made its debut, the newly renovated facilities reopened to the public. And 7 years after the studio's closure, while many believed that all traces of Nickelodeon had been removed, with the exception of some green slime tiles in the bathrooms, content creator Adam the Woo explored parts of Soundstage 19 that had long since been abandoned, stuck in time and left almost exactly as it was the day it closed.
It's been 84 years, and I can still smell the fresh paint.
Today, while the exterior structure has remained virtually unchanged, one either walks by the former studio without a clue of what once existed, or is hit with nostalgia, and taken back to a time many hold dear within their hearts. So what about you? Did you get to visit Nickelodeon Studios Florida? And if so, what are some of your memories? Also, if you would like to help support me in the making of future content, please check out my Yesterworld Patreon and shop in the description. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.